Imagine a wedding procession where the groom arrives, not on a white horse or like in a golden chariot. He arrives covered head to toe in pale ash, fresh from a cremation ground.
Yeah, and he's wearing a garland of actual human skulls.
Right, and live venomous snakes are just coiled around his neck and his arms. And his groomsmen, they aren't royalty or, dignified elders. They are a screaming, chaotic horde of ghosts, goblins, demons, the deformed, and the mad.
I mean, it is the ultimate nightmare scenario for any aristocratic family expecting a royal union.
It sounds like a horror movie, but according to some of the most ancient, revered texts on Earth, this specific, terrifying image is actually the blueprint of how the universe was saved.
Yeah, it really is.
So welcome to today's deep dive. We have a massive stack of sources in front of us today, ranging from ancient Puranic texts and deeply rooted cultural mythologies, all the way to modern philosophical blogs and intense spiritual analyses.
And the central topic, the thread tying all this monumental information together, is the profound eternal dynamic between Shiva and Shakti.
Exactly. And I want to make our mission very clear to you listening right now. This isn't just about ancient gods or recounting mythological stories just for the sake of entertainment.
No, not at all. We are stepping far outside the bounds of conventional storytelling here. We're venturing into an architecture of reality that has sustained an entire philosophical framework for millennia.
Right, the ultimate blueprint of existence. Our goal for this deep dive is to decode how a narrative that involves self-immolation, a violently severed body, and that literal wedding procession of ghosts actually holds the key to psychological balance.
And the very nature of reality itself, yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this. It's a staggering amount of material.
It is, but the through line is incredibly elegant. What we're going to do is synthesize this incredibly diverse information. We're taking ancient symbols and connecting them to the bigger picture of how the human mind operates today.
So to build that bridge, we have to start with the foundational architecture, like who or what are Shiva and Shakti? If we strip away the blue skin, the trident, the beautiful goddess, what are we actually looking at?
Well, according to the sources, Shiva represents a concept called Purusha, which translates to pure consciousness.
Okay.
But we need to be very precise about what consciousness means in this context because, we throw that word around so casually in modern English.
Right, like being awake or aware of your surroundings.
Exactly. But in the framework of these texts, Purusha is the stillness. It is the silent, eternal observer. It's completely formless. It lacks any intrinsic desire, any impulse, any action. It just is.
Wow.
It's the blank canvas of reality before a single drop of paint has touched it.
It's the background hum of the universe.
Yeah.
And on the other side of this cosmic equation, we have Shakti, which represents Prakriti.
Right. Prakriti is the paint on that canvas. It is dynamic nature. It's energy, movement, creation, expression, transformation, even decay and rebirth.
So if Shiva is the silent background, Shakti is literally everything that happens within that background. Time, space, matter, gravity, your thoughts, the firing of your synapses, a star being born. They are all expressions of Shakti.
Operating within the infinite awareness of Shiva. Exactly.
Now, the sources introduce this foundational, almost provocative concept right off the bat. Shiva without Shakti is Shava. Now, Shava means a lifeless corpse, or a completely inert state.
Yeah, that's a very striking image in the texts.
Think of it like a massive, intricately rigged sail on a ship, and the wind. Shiva is the sail. It's perfectly designed, possessing immense, infinite potential. But without the wind, it's totally dead in the water.
Right, it's just useless fabric hanging from a mast.
Exactly. And Shakti is the gale force wind.
And the wind without the sail is just chaotic destruction. It's a hurricane that knocks over trees and causes devastation because it has no anchor, no direction, no purpose. It's pure kinetic energy just bleeding out into the void.
But when you angle the immense stillness of the sail to catch that wild, unbridled energy of the wind, suddenly you have momentum, you have navigation, you have life.
The sail gives the wind purpose, and the wind gives the sail movement.
So what does this all mean for you in your daily life?
Well, what's vital to pull from the texts here is the deliberate lack of hierarchy. Our modern minds are, conditioned to look for the boss. We want to know who is in charge.
Oh, totally. Who's at the top of the org chart?
Right. But the sources are explicit. Consciousness is not higher than energy, and energy is not better than consciousness. It's a cosmic necessity. Action without awareness, which is Shakti without Shiva, the wind without the sail, that leads to absolute chaos in a human life.
Think of a time you're acting purely on impulse, pure emotion, Zero self-reflection. It usually ends in a mess, like we've all sent that 2 a.m. text message.
Oh, yeah. That is pure Shakti without Shiva.
But awareness without action, Shiva without Shakti, leads to total stagnation.
Exactly. You can sit in a room and perfectly observe your life, analyze your trauma, understand your psychology inside and out, but if you never actually do anything with that awareness, you're a corpse. You are Shava. True completeness only emerges in their seamless integration.
Wait, hold on. This feels incredibly contradictory when you look at the wider mythology. I mean, I'm reading these texts, and they consistently describe Shiva as the ultimate supreme consciousness, the apex of reality.
Right.
If he is ultimate consciousness, why is he depicted as being incomplete or a corpse without Shakti? Isn't ultimate consciousness, by definition, enough on its own? It feels like the texts are diminishing him to elevate her.
It's a paradox, yeah, and it trips up a lot of modern readers, but it really defines the mechanics of existence in this worldview. Consciousness, Purusha, is the ultimate witness. It observes perfectly, but it cannot express itself.
It can't do anything.
Exactly. Awareness alone does nothing unless it is activated by energy. Shiva is the potential for reality. Shakti activates that potential, so it doesn't diminish Shiva to say he needs Shakti.
Okay, I see.
It simply clarifies that a mirror, no matter how perfectly clear and infinite it is useless if there is nothing for it to reflect. When consciousness expresses itself through energy, that is when the universe breathes.
So there are two sides of the exact same coin, the observer and the observed. But the brilliance of these ancient sources is that they don't just leave this as a dry, abstract philosophical treatise.
No, they ground it in incredibly visceral, devastating narrative.
To truly understand the catastrophic mechanics of what happens when this delicate balance is violently shattered, we have to look at one of the most tragic stories in the source material.
The narrative of Daksha's yajna and the tragedy of Sati, it basically operates as a mythological stress test. The story asks, what happens to reality when the observer and the energy are ripped apart?
Okay, let's set the stage with the core players here. We have Sati, who is also known as Dakshani.
Yeah.
She's the daughter of Daksha. Now, Daksha isn't just a king, he is a Prajapati.
Right, but Prajapati is an agent of creation commissioned by Lord Brahma himself. If we map this onto our earlier concepts, Daksha represents the absolute pinnacle of rigid societal structure.
The ultimate rule maker.
Yes. He is orthodox ritual, hierarchy, rules, and categorization. He builds the boxes that society fits into.
And Sati is his favorite child, the jewel of his meticulously ordered empire. But there's a massive glitch in Daksha's perfect system.
A huge glitch.
His daughter grows up utterly, inexplicably devoted to Shiva. She ignores the pristine gods of the court and fixates on the ultimate ascetic who lives in the cremation grounds, smears himself with ashes, and actively ignores every rule Daksha represents.
Yeah, and against her father's vehement, explosive wishes, she marries Shiva. She leaves the luxury of the palace to go live with him in the icy desolation of Mount Kailash.
The clash here is profound, because Daksha's opposition isn't just a petty family squabble over a bad son-in-law. It is an ideological war.
The Daksha cannot compute Shiva. To a mind obsessed with structure and status, formless, unconditioned consciousness looks like madness. It looks like a threat to the very fabric of society.
The Devi Bhagavata Purana actually gives a very specific, fascinating detail about why Daksha hated Shiva with such an unnatural intensity. It wasn't just ideological snobbery.
No, there was a cosmic element to it.
Right. The text mentions that shortly after Sati's marriage, Daksha encountered a sacred flower garland that had been blessed, and in his arrogance, he polluted it.
And as a cosmic consequence of disrespecting this divine energy, he was cursed.
The curse dictated that he would develop an obsessive, blinding hatred for his own beloved daughter and her husband.
It introduces the concept of cosmic karma even at the highest levels of creation. Daksha, the rule maker, breaks a cosmic rule and is subjugated by the mechanics of the universe.
It shifts the tragedy from a simple domestic dispute to an inevitable collision of cosmic forces. Daksha's hatred is now this unstoppable gravitational pull toward disaster.
And we really have to look closely at Sati herself because she is a highly complex figure. She's not a passive, obedient wife just following Shiva around the mountain.
No, not at all. She is the embodiment of dynamic energy, and she has her own agency. One source mentions a brilliant story from the Shiva Purana to illustrate this.
The story in the Dandaka forest.
Yes. Sati and Shiva are wandering through the forest. Down below, they see Lord Rama. Now, Rama is an avatar of Vishnu, but at this moment, he's playing out his human drama. His wife, Sita, has just been abducted by the demon king Ravana.
Rama is weeping, tearing through the forest, talking to trees, completely broken by human grief.
And Shiva, observing this from above, recognizes the divine essence beneath the human grief. He bows deeply to Rama, acknowledging him as the preserver of the universe.
But Sati watches her husband, the supreme, detached consciousness of the universe, bow to a sobbing, desperate mortal. And her mind rebels. She cannot compute it.
She is deeply skeptical.
She's experiencing Maya, the power of illusion. Even though she is the cosmic mother in this incarnated form, her dynamic energy gets wrapped up in the appearance of things. She looks at Rama and only sees a broken man.
She actually challenges Shiva on it. And Shiva, ever the detached observer, essentially says, if you don't believe me, go test him yourself. He doesn't command her. He lets her energy play out.
So what does Sati do? She uses her immense cosmic powers to disguise herself as Sita, Rama's missing wife.
Right. She materializes right in front of the grieving Rama in the forest, thinking she can trick him.
It's an incredible flex of divine power, but also a profound miscalculation.
Because Rama looks up, wiping his tears,
Yeah.
and he doesn't run to embrace her. He immediately sees completely through the illusion.
He bows his head and asks, with complete sincerity, "Mother of the universe, why are you wandering the forest alone, and why have you taken the form of my wife?"
The illusion collapses against the bedrock of ultimate truth. It's a wild, slightly embarrassing moment for Sati. But it demonstrates her autonomy. She tests boundaries. She wields illusion. She has her own mind.
And that autonomous agency is exactly what drives the central world-breaking tragedy of our story. Because back in the civilized world, her father, Daksha, organizes a massive yajna.
A yajna of this scale is a grand cosmic fire sacrifice. It is the ultimate display of Daksha's power, wealth, and adherence to orthodox structure.
It's an event where the hierarchy of the universe is visually mapped out by who gets invited and where they sit.
And Daksha, deliberately, pointedly, with maximum malice, does not invite Shiva or Sati. He invites every minor deity, every celestial bureaucrat, every king, but leaves his own daughter and her husband off the list.
It is a calculated erasure. Daksha is trying to write the ultimate consciousness and the ultimate energy out of the cosmic order.
Sati finds out. And she isn't just insulted or, experiencing FOMO. She is furious on a cellular level. She feels the cosmic order is being deeply disrespected.
She reasons that as Daksha's daughter, she doesn't need a formal piece of paper to attend a family function. She decides she is going.
Shiva, however, operates from pure awareness. He sees the entire board. He tries to stop her. He explains that Daksha's mind is poisoned by the curse and by his own ego. He tells her, if you go without an invitation, you will only find humiliation.
But Sati is prakriti. She's motion. She cannot sit still while an injustice is occurring. And some of the more esoteric Shakta texts, like the Mahabharata Purana, detail how violently this disagreement between them escalates.
Yeah, it isn't a quiet argument. When Shiva tries to physically bar her path, Sati's energy completely overflows its human vessel. She transforms.
She doesn't just yell at him, she literally shatters her singular form. She manifests as the 10 Mahavidyas.
The 10 great wisdom goddesses. These are terrifying, overwhelming, primal forms of the divine feminine. You have Kali, black as the void, wearing a garland of severed heads.
You have Tara, holding shears to cut the threads of attachment.
You have Chinnamasta, who has severed her own head and holds it in her hands while her body feeds on her own spurting blood.
Sati surrounds Shiva with these 10 horrifying, monumental forms from all 10 cardinal directions. She is trapping the ultimate consciousness in a cage of pure, unadulterated, uncontainable power.
She is showing him that while she may choose to be his wife, she is not bound by his stillness. She is the wild, untamed energy of the cosmos, and she will not be contained.
It's a breathtaking image. Confronted with the absolute totality of her nature, Shiva's stillness holds, but he relents. He cannot forcefully suppress the energy of the universe without destroying it.
He allows her to go, sending his fiercest attendants, his Ganas, to guard her. So Sati arrives at the sacrificial grounds. The fires are burning, the chants are echoing, the entire cosmic elite is seated.
Her mother and sisters secretly try to welcome her, but Daksha spots her, and he unloads.
He doesn't just ask her to leave. He publicly, humiliatingly mocks her. He stands in front of the assembled universe and verbally incinerates Shiva. He calls him a dirty, penniless, ash-smeared savage who lives among corpses.
And he turns that hatred onto Sati for choosing him. The psychological weight of this moment is crushing. Sati is standing at the epicenter of societal structure, being rejected by its architect, her own father.
She is pushed past the ultimate breaking point. She realizes that her very physical form, the body given to her by Daksha, is tainted by his toxic ego.
So, to uphold the honor of ultimate consciousness and to permanently sever her biological ties with a structure that rejects truth, she takes an action that echoes through eternity.
She doesn't attack Daksha. She sits down in the middle of the grand assembly. She enters a profound, terrifyingly deep yogic trance. And she uses her own internal cosmic energy, her yogic fire, to immolate herself.
She literally burns her own physical vessel to ashes from the inside out in an act of absolute cosmic protest. The energy, the prakriti, destroys its form because it was denied its rightful place alongside awareness.
The balance of the universe is shattered in a flash of yogic fire. The aftermath is apocalyptic. Have you ever experienced a moment of such profound grief or such a sudden loss that the physical energy just drains out of your reality?
Where the world just feels hollow, mechanical, and pointless.
Yes. That is the microcosm of what the sources say the entire universe experienced in that split second. When Shiva, meditating on Mount Kailash, feels the exact moment Sati's energy leaves her body, the ultimate, still, silent consciousness snaps.
The anchor is gone, the observer has lost his reflection, and the result is madness.
He is crazed with grief. In his rage, he rips a dreadlock from his own head and smashes it against a mountain. From that impact, he creates two incredibly ferocious deities, the Ravadra, a warrior of pure destruction, and Bhadrakali, a terrifying goddess of wrath.
And he unleashes them on the yajna. They descend on Daksha's pristine orthodox sacrifice and systematically dismantle it.
They shatter the altars, they break the teeth of the sun god, they blind the fire god, and Ravadra grabs Daksha and literally decapitates him, throwing his head into the sacrificial fire.
The ultimate destruction of ego and rigid structure. Though, the text does note that Shiva, ultimately being the source of compassion, later restores Daksha to life, giving him the head of a goat to replace the one burned in the fire.
A permanent mark of humility, showing that even in catastrophic wrath, consciousness eventually seeks equilibrium.
Right. But while Daksha survives, the grief does not fade.
The grief becomes the central threat to reality. Shiva arrives at the ruined sacrifice. He ignores the carnage. He walks into the ashes, picks up the charred, lifeless body of Sati, and he begins to dance.
The Tandava, the celestial dance of dissolution.
He is carrying her corpse, and he begins a rhythmic, pounding, crazed dance across the cosmos. And we have to look at the physics of this mythology. He isn't just dancing on Earth. His footsteps are throwing planets out of orbit.
The rhythm of his grief is tearing the very fabric of space-time apart. The universe is experiencing a terminal imbalance because the ultimate consciousness is trapped in an infinite loop of mourning for its lost energy.
He's a closed circuit of despair.
And if we look at the cosmic mechanics, reality cannot survive if the observer is consumed by the past. The gods, the celestial beings, the planets themselves are panicking. Existence is dissolving.
They realize they cannot reason with Shiva. They go to Lord Vishnu, the preserver of the universe, the stabilizing force, and beg him to intervene before everything returns to the void.
Vishnu realizes he has to break the closed circuit of Shiva's grief. He summons his ultimate weapon, the Sudarshana Chakra, a divine, relentlessly spinning discus made of pure cosmic light.
He throws it into the cosmos. It trails behind the dancing Shiva, and with surgical, brutal precision, it systematically cuts Sati's lifeless body into pieces.
Piece by piece, the weight Shiva is carrying is removed. He is so lost in the trance of the Tandava that he doesn't immediately notice.
As Shiva dances across the sky, the 51 severed pieces of Sati's body fall to the earth below, and where each piece lands, it fundamentally alters the geopolitical and spiritual map of the world.
These 51 impact craters of divine energy become the 51 Shakti Pithas.
This is a vital conceptual anchor in the sources. The Shakti Pithas are not just historical markers where something sad happened. They're not merely tourist shrines.
No, the texts describe them as specific, highly charged geographic locations where cosmic energy raw, unfiltered Shakti becomes physically accessible to humanity. The divine feminine is literally embedded into the soil of the Indian subcontinent.
The sources map this out viscerally. Like the Kaliat temple in Kolkata is where her right toes fell. The Kamakhya temple in Assam is where her reproductive organs fell, representing the deepest wellspring of creative power.
Jwalamukhi in Himachal Pradesh is her tongue, manifesting as an eternal natural flame. It's a geographical mapping of a shattered god.
But there is a profound underlying philosophical logic to these sites that the texts emphasize. If you visit these Shakti Pithas, you will notice a consistent architectural and spiritual pattern.
Right. At every single one of these 51 sites, alongside the goddess, there is also a shrine to Bhairav.
Bhairav is a fierce, terrifying manifestation of Shiva. But why is he there if Shiva is the one who lost her?
Because you cannot have a massive concentration of raw, unbridled cosmic energy sitting on the Earth unguarded. It's like leaving an exposed nuclear reactor core in the middle of a city.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Pyrav represents the absolute discipline, the severe boundaries, and the conscious restraint required to manage that power. He is the cosmic security guard. He ensures that this immense raw energy isn't misused by mortals or demons.
It routes us all the way back to the core logic of the sail and the wind. Energy without awareness is dangerous. Even in death, even scattered in 51 pieces across the earth, Shakti needs the grounding of Shiva. The power of the universe requires the structure of consciousness.
Exactly. Without Bhairav, the Shakti Peeth would become a site of chaotic, destructive magic. The Bhairav is the regulating force. It is the physical manifestation of the psychological principle that extreme intensity must always be accompanied by extreme accountability.
Okay, so the immediate crisis is averted. Sati's body is gone. Shiva's hands are empty. The Tandava stops. The universe is saved from being trampled into dust. But this plunges us into an entirely new, deeply existential crisis.
Because with Sati completely gone, Shiva doesn't return to ruling the cosmos. He withdraws entirely.
The ultimate withdrawal of the observer. He retreats deep into the freezing, inaccessible peaks of the Himalayas. He covers his body in the white ash of cremation grounds, a visual symbol that the vibrant world of color and life is dead to him.
He closes his eyes and enters a state of absolute, isolated asceticism. He shuts down. And when the universe's core consciousness goes offline, the ambient energy of the cosmos loses its cohesive force.
We enter the vacuum, and the terrifying mechanical reality of this universe is that nature abhors a vacuum. When the ultimate stabilizing force is locked away in a cave, all the volatile, ambitious forces in the universe see an opportunity.
And in this narrative, that opportunity coalesces into a very specific, very dangerous problem, the demon Tarakasura.
Tarakasura is no joke. The Shiva Purana outlines his formidable lineage. He's the son of Vajrang and Varangi. He's ambitious, deeply intelligent, and incredibly disciplined.
He doesn't just attack the gods immediately, he plays the long game. He stands on one leg in a fire, then in freezing water, performing incredibly severe, torturous penance for thousands of years.
The heat of his discipline becomes so intense that it threatens to burn down the heavens. Lord Brahma, the creator, is mechanically forced by the laws of the universe to appear and grant him a boon to stop the heat.
Tarakasura has done his homework. He knows the political landscape of the cosmos. He knows Sati is dead. And he knows Shiva is locked in a depression so deep he has sworn off women and marriage for eternity.
So when Brahma asks what he wants, Tarakasura asks for a very specific, carefully worded condition for his death. I decree that I can only be killed by a biological son of Shiva.
Is the perfect cosmic loophole. If Shiva is locked in eternal meditation, covered in ash, completely detached from the material world, he will never interact with another being.
He will certainly never have a child.
Right. Therefore, Tarakasura has essentially hacked the universe to become immortal.
Armed with this perceived invincibility, Tarakasura drops the ascetic act and unleashes total systemic chaos. He overthrows the celestial order. He ravages the three worlds.
The gods' sacred ashrams are burned to the ground. Heaven is occupied. The celestial hierarchy is shattered.
The gods, led by Indra, are in absolute panic mode. They are refugees in their own universe. They realize the only weapon that can stop Tarakasura is a son of Shiva, which means they have to do the impossible.
They have to wake up the ultimate consciousness, pull him out of his grief, and make him fall in love again.
They need a localized solution to a cosmic problem, and their methodology is deeply flawed.
Deeply flawed.
Their plan is, frankly, straight up out of a bizarre mythological sitcom. They don't try to appeal to Shiva's sense of duty or cosmic balance. They try to drug him.
They attempt to manipulate the unmanipulable.
They summon Kamadeva, the literal god of erotic love and desire, the Hindu equivalent of Cupid, but far more powerful. He rides a parrot and shoots arrows made of flowers that induce uncontrollable lust.
And he brings his best friend Vasant, the personification of spring.
The gods give them a suicide mission. Go to Mount Kailash, find the terrifying ash-covered god of destruction, create a super romantic atmosphere, and shoot him point blank with an arrow of desire. Wake him up and make him want a wife.
It demonstrates a profound, almost comical misunderstanding of who and what Shiva is by the other gods. They are projecting their own vulnerabilities onto the absolute.
The execution of the plan is cinematic. Kamadeva and Vasant arrive at Kailash. Instantly, the freezing barren glaciers transform. Spring erupts out of the ice.
Unseasonable flowers bloom, intoxicating perfumes fill the air, celestial nymphs start dancing. It is sensory overload.
Kamadeva creeps up to where Shiva is meditating like a stone statue. He strings his bow with a magical flower, draws it back, and shoots the arrow of desire straight into Shiva's heart.
And we have to look closely at the physics of what happens next.
Because it is a spectacular, catastrophic failure. Shiva's meditation is broken. But his reaction? He doesn't look around for a lover. He isn't infused with lust. He is intensely, violently annoyed.
He looks down at Kamadeva, and then Shiva opens his third eye.
This is a crucial metaphysical moment. The third eye isn't just an extra optical nerve, and it isn't a laser beam weapon of physical heat.
No, the third eye represents absolute, unshielded, unvarnished truth. It is the vision that sees through all Maya, all illusion.
So when pure absolute truth looks directly at an illusion like artificially induced, superficial physical desire, the illusion cannot sustain its atomic structure.
It cannot exist in the presence of reality. Kamadeva is instantly, violently incinerated into a pile of white ash.
Shiva literally burns the concept of worldly desire out of existence with a single glance. Hence, he earns the name Manmathari, the enemy of Manmatha, the churner of the mind.
Kamadeva's wife Rati collapses in horror, weeping over the pile of ash. The gods realize they have made a terrible mistake.
Shiva softens slightly at Rati's grief, declaring that Kamadeva will live on, but as a formless, disembodied entity, a psychological force rather than a physical god. But the immediate point is made with brutal clarity. The god's sitcom plan failed.
And we must explore why it failed, because the sources use this to explain a fundamental rule of their psychology. You cannot awaken pure consciousness with superficial worldly desire. The ultimate reality cannot be tricked, manipulated, or seduced. If you want to connect with the deepest part of your own awareness, chasing temporary pleasures won't get you there. It will only burn you out.
The reunion of awareness and energy must be organic. It requires an alignment that goes deeper than attraction. It requires pure, unadulterated devotion.
Which mathematically explains why Sati had to be reborn. The energy, the Prakriti, had to return of its own volition, through its own process. The universe requires the willing, conscious reunification of the sail and the wind, not a forced one.
So Sati is reincarnated. She's reborn as Parvati, the daughter of Himavad, the majestic king of the Himalayas, and his queen, Maina. Sati was the daughter of rigid societal structure. Parvati is the daughter of the towering, immovable mountains.
But the narrative doesn't just hand Parvati over to Shiva. Rebirth is only the first step. The energy has remanifested, but it is currently chaotic and unfocused.
Parvati has to actively choose Shiva, and Shiva has to choose her. She has to prove that her energy is refined enough to integrate with his absolute stillness.
And this brings us to Parvati's monumental undertaking, the path of tapasya, the unyielding resolve of the divine feminine. Parvati isn't handed a fairy tale ending. She has to engineer it through grueling effort.
The texts tell us that from early childhood, Parvati was inexplicably drawn to Shiva. She would draw pictures of him. She felt an innate magnetic pull toward the ascetic lifestyle, much to the confusion of her royal parents.
And then the catalyst arrives. The great sage, Narada Muni, visits King Himavat's court.
Narada is a fascinating figure. He's part cosmic messenger, part instigator. He asks to read the young princess Parvati's palm. He looks at her hand and delivers a prophecy that deeply disturbs the royal court.
He declares that she has all the marks of the ultimate goddess worshipped by all three worlds, but her husband will be a wild, naked ascetic.
He will live in abandoned, inauspicious places. He will wear bizarre, terrifying ornaments, and he will have absolutely no royal pedigree, wealth, or family name.
Queen Meena is horrified. Her daughter is destined for a majestic king, not a penniless beggar. She sees it as a curse.
But Parvati, her reaction is completely different. When she hears the description, a lock clicks open in her mind. She knows exactly who Narada is talking about. The memories of Sati begin to bleed through.
Her life's mission crystallizes in an instant. She must win back Shiva. But she knows Kamadeva's arrows failed. She knows she cannot use her beauty, her royal status, or superficial charm. She has to match him on his own turf.
So she makes a radical departure. She strips off her royal silks, her heavy gold jewelry. She leaves the warmth and luxury of her father's palace and travels to a harsh, desolate peak called Shringi Tirtha to perform tapasya.
Tapasya is often translated simply as penance, but the root of the word implies generating immense internal heat or friction through severe, unbroken discipline. It is a grueling, agonizing process.
The sources detail the progression of her discipline. And it is staggering. She doesn't just sit and meditate. She systematically dismantles her physical dependencies.
For the first few years, she restricts her diet, eating only the wild fruits that fall naturally to the ground.
As the decades pass, she intensifies the discipline. She stops eating fruits and survives solely on fallen leaves, Parna.
She sleeps on bare, freezing rock in the dead of Himalayan winter. She sits surrounded by blazing fires during the scorching peak of summer.
And eventually, she gives up even the dead leaves. She stops consuming any physical sustenance entirely. She survives purely on the air and the ambient cosmic energy.
Earning the revered title Aparna, the one who doesn't even eat leaves, the texts describe her body wasting away to skin and bone, but simultaneously, she begins to emit a divine, blinding golden light.
The immense internal heat, the kappas she is generating through this inhuman discipline, is literally radiating outward, warping the environment around her.
It is, but...
Wait, hold on. This is where I have to step in, because reading this through a modern lens, it feels incredibly contradictory. We established that they are two halves of the same cosmic coin, the sail and the wind.
Right.
If they are literally mechanically destined to be together, why does she have to starve herself on a freezing mountain to prove her worth? Why must Parvati undergo such extreme self-inflicted suffering just to get her husband to notice her? It sounds less like a quest for cosmic balance and more like a toxic, patriarchal hazing ritual.
It is a very natural reaction to view it that way from our modern standpoint, where self-denial is often linked to oppression. But the philosophical architecture of the text suggests a completely different mechanism.
Okay, how so?
This isn't suffering for the sake of suffering. Shiva isn't sitting on his mountain thinking, let's see how much pain she can take before I give in. This process is about frequency and alchemy.
How does starving yourself change your frequency?
Think back to the metaphysical foundation. Parvati, as Shakti in human form, is dynamic, wild, limitless, chaotic energy. She is wrapped in the ego of a princess, the comforts of a palace, the attachments of a human life.
Right, she has a lot of static.
Exactly. Shiva is Purusha, absolute, unmoving, unconditioned stillness. He vibrates at a frequency of 0. To integrate with absolute stillness without shattering, the dynamic energy must be incredibly refined, incredibly focused, and stripped of all static.
So the tapasya is her burning off the static.
Precisely. Her discipline is an alchemical furnace. She is burning away her royal ego, her physical attachments, her reliance on the external world, so that her internal frequency aligns perfectly with the ultimate consciousness of Shiva.
She isn't punishing her body. She is honing her spirit into a laser.
Like tuning a massive, complex instrument so perfectly that when she finally plays a single note, it resonates exactly, flawlessly, with his absolute silence.
That makes a lot of sense.
Indeed.
And once that instrument is perfectly tuned, once her light is brighter than a star, the universe takes notice. The ultimate test occurs.
Shiva feels the immense heat of her tapasya, but he doesn't just materialize in his divine form and say, okay, good job, let's get married.
No, he tests the structural integrity of that tuned instrument one last time. He approaches her hermitage disguised as a Vatu, an elderly, wandering, orthodox holy man.
He acts incredibly impressed by her discipline, but then he asks her why she's doing it. When she says it's to win Shiva, the disguised holy man unleashes a torrent of trash talk.
He essentially attempts to gaslight the cosmic mother.
He goes hard. He says, "You are a radiant, beautiful young princess. Why are you throwing your life away for this lunatic?"
He is a penniless beggar. He lives in cremation grounds surrounded by rotting corpses. He smears the ash of the dead on his skin. He wears venomous snakes instead of gold. He rides an old bull.
He points out that he has no family, no wealth, no manners. He is fundamentally inauspicious. He tells her she's out of her mind, that she should marry a glorious god like Indra or Vishnu, someone who can give her a palace.
The Vatu is presenting every single logical, societal, and worldly argument against their union. He is echoing Daksha's exact critiques, testing if any of that old conditioning remains in Parvati.
And Parvati doesn't cry. She doesn't doubt herself. She is furious. Her eyes flash with the power of her tapasya. She fiercely defends him.
She tells this frail old man that he is blind to reality. She explains the deep metaphysics of her love. She says, "You see a beggar. I see the master of the universe who has no need for wealth. You see a man covered in ash. I see the ultimate reality that remains after all illusions, all egos, and all universes are burned away."
She points out that he lives in the cremation ground because he is the final truth waiting at the end of all existence.
Yeah.
She declares that he is the beating heart of creation, and she loves him unconditionally, exactly as he is, terrifying flaws and all.
She passes the ultimate test. She proves that her devotion is not based on physical attraction, which Kamadeva tried to use, and it isn't based on societal expectations.
It is based on a profound, unshakable recognition of his true nature. The illusion of the Vatu cannot withstand the absolute truth of her devotion.
Hearing the ultimate truth spoken with such fierce, unyielding love, Shiva sheds his disguise. The old man vanishes, and Shiva reveals his true, radiant, divine form.
He looks at Parvati, who is emaciated but glowing with power, and he essentially surrenders. He says, "By your tapasya you have bought me. I am your slave."
The cosmic couple is reunited. The universe breathes a massive collective sigh of relief. The ultimate power couple is back together. But they still have to navigate the logistics of an Indian royal wedding.
Which leads us to what is arguably the most complex, bizarre, and philosophically rich sequence in the entire source material, the Shiva, the Great Wedding.
This is a narrative masterpiece of contrasts. You have the ultimate wild ascetic being forced into the most rigid, structured societal ritual in existence, a royal marriage.
Let's set the scene. We are at King Himavat's capital city. The palace is decked out in unimaginable splendor. It is the royal wedding of the eon.
Every single celestial VIP is there. Brahma the creator, Vishnu the preserver, Indra the king of heaven, all dressed in blinding jewels and silks.
And before the actual marriage can take place, the ancient protocols must be observed, the most important of which is the lineage ceremony.
Right. Both families must publicly state their pedigree, their ancestors, their caste, to prove the union is structurally sound. So King Himavat's royal priests stand up, they unfurl their scrolls, and they proudly, loudly recite Parvati's majestic lineage.
She is the daughter of Himavat, the mighty king of mountains, descended from the purest bloodlines, on and on. It's incredibly impressive. Everyone claps.
Then a heavy silence falls over the grand hall. The priests turn to the groom's side. They turn to Shiva, who is sitting on the dais. "And your lineage, O Lord, who is your father? What is your caste?"
And Shiva, the absolute consciousness, sits in total unbroken silence. He just stares into the void.
He doesn't say a single word. He doesn't even blink. The elite guests, the kings, the Orthodox priests, they start to whisper. Panic sets in.
What is wrong with him? Does he not know his father? Is he illegitimate? Is he from a low caste? This is a disaster. This is humiliating.
The societal tension is thick enough to cut with a sword. King Himavat is sweating.
And into this unbearable awkwardness steps our favorite cosmic instigator, Narada Muni.
Narada walks right into the center of the hall, holding his veena, his stringed instrument. Everyone thinks he's going to speak for Shiva. Instead, he just plucks a single string. Ball.
And he waits. Boing. He just keeps plucking the same empty note.
King Himavat is losing his mind. "Narada, what is this nonsense? We are waiting to hear the groom's lineage, and you are playing one string."
Narada's response is one of the most profound philosophical mic drops in the texts. He explains the mechanics of why Shiva cannot answer their tiny, bureaucratic question.
Narada looks at the king and says, "He cannot give you a lineage because he has no parents. He has no caste. He has no ancestors. He doesn't even have a governing star sign."
He is Swayambhu, the self-created one. Before time existed, before space was carved out, before your ancestors were even dust, he was.
His only lineage is sound, the very first primordial vibration of the universe echoing in the dark. That is why I am plucking this string. His origin is the hum of creation itself.
It is a staggering moment. It completely, utterly subverts the aristocratic obsession with status, birthright, and arbitrary social boxes. You cannot put the infinite into a spreadsheet.
But the societal shock of this wedding doesn't end with the lineage. We have to talk about the Bharat, the wedding procession. In this culture, the groom doesn't just wait at the altar.
He arrives at the bride's home with his family, his friends, his entire community in a grand, loud, joyful procession.
And Shiva's Bharat is, well, it redefines the word unique.
That is the understatement of the millennium. The texts describe this procession in vivid, horrifying detail. When Vishnu and Brahma ask Shiva to assemble his family for the procession, Shiva doesn't just bring the beautiful gods.
He brings everyone, because to the ultimate observer, everything in creation is his family.
His procession is a parade of the marginalized, the rejected, and the terrifying.
It includes bloodthirsty demons, wandering ghosts, screaming goblins, the physically deformed, the mentally mad, the diseased. There are entities with no heads, entities with 100 heads, beings with the faces of dogs and pigs.
They are covered in fresh blood, they're wearing necklaces of rotting skulls, they are dancing erratically, howling and shrieking into the night.
And right in the dead center of this nightmare parade is the groom himself, Shiva, riding his old bull Nandi, his skin smeared thick with gray ash from a fresh cremation, wearing a garland of grinning skulls with live hissing cobras wrapped around his matted hair.
It is an intentional, overwhelmingly visceral display of the grotesque.
Queen Minna, Parvati's mother, hears the commotion. She goes to the palace balcony, expecting to see a shining prince on a golden chariot. She looks down, takes one look at her future son-in-law and his horrific entourage, and she completely loses her grip on reality.
She faints dead away. When her attendants revive her, she is hysterical.
She grabs Parvati and screams, "I refuse! I will not give my daughter to this monster. I would rather poison you or cut you into pieces or throw you off a cliff than let you marry the king of the goblins."
And we must pause here to analyze the deep psychological and sociological mechanism behind this shocking scene. Why does Shiva do this? Why ruin his own wedding with a horror show?
The texts are making a radical point about the nature of divine acceptance. Shiva is demonstrating that he accepts the entirety of creation. The beautiful gods in their silks and the horrific demons in their blood are all equally a part of his reality.
It is radical inclusion. Society pushes the ugly, the sick, and the mad into the shadows, out of sight. Shiva puts them front and center at the most important social event of the cosmos.
He is saying, to accept me, you must accept everything that exists. You cannot cherry-pick the pretty parts of the universe.
It forces Queen Minna and the listener to confront their own biases. True awareness does not discriminate.
But Parvati, who understands his metaphysics perfectly, also understands human psychology. She knows her mother is just a mortal queen who cannot handle the raw, unvarnished truth of the cosmos.
So she gently, lovingly intervenes. She prays to Shiva, essentially saying, "My lord, I love you exactly as you are. I would marry you in the ash, but my family is terrified. For their sake, out of compassion, can you please show them a form their minds can comprehend?"
And because he loves her, and because her energy is perfectly aligned with his, he complies. He adjusts his frequency for the sake of his bride's family.
The transformation is instantaneous and blinding. The gray ash morphs into fragrant, cooling sandalwood paste. The rotting skull garland transforms into a cascade of fresh, divine lotus flowers.
The hissing snakes become exquisite, radiant jewels of unimaginable wealth. The wild, matted hair becomes a glorious crown. He reveals his form as Chandrasekhar, the one who bears the crescent moon on his head.
He becomes breathtakingly, impossibly beautiful. He radiates the light brighter than a million suns, but as soothing as moonlight.
The texts say his physical beauty in that specific moment was so absolute that it put Kamadeva, the god of physical beauty and love whom he had previously burned to ash, to utter shame.
Queen Minna looks down again and her terror evaporates. She is instantly relieved and mesmerized. She realizes the supreme grace of who he truly is beneath the terrifying exterior.
The panic subsides, and the wedding finally proceeds. Lord Brahma officiates the sacred fire rituals. And then comes the climax of the ceremony. Lord Vishnu steps forward to perform the Kanyanan, the ancient ritual of giving away the bride.
This moment is incredibly symbolic if we look at the roles of the Trinity. Vishnu is the preserver of reality. He is the one who cut Sati's body apart to stop the Tandava. Now he is the one physically placing Parvati's hand into Shiva's.
The preserver is officially, formally handing the dynamic energy of the universe back to its core consciousness. He is mechanically restoring the cosmic balance that was lost in the fires of Daksha's yajna.
The knot is tied, the wedding is over, the universe is safe, and Tarakasura's days are officially numbered. But this brings us to the ultimate synthesis of our deep dive.
Because the story doesn't end with a party. The philosophical implications of this union define the very structure of how we perceive reality today.
Yes, the immediate aftermath of the wedding is a profound philosophical dialogue between the newly reunited couple.
They retreat to Kailash, and Parvati asks Shiva a massive existential question. She asks, "My lord, was our entire journey, my death as Sati, your world-ending grief, my thousands of years of starvation and tapasya, was it all just a script? Was it pre-written destiny? Or was it our choice?"
Shiva's answer establishes the physics of karma and creation. He explains that nothing is purely accidental, that nothing is a rigid cage either. He tells her that when love, which is pure devotion, meets knowledge, which is pure awareness, creation naturally occurs.
Their devastating journey was the universe mechanically working out its own necessary balance through their actions.
And the ultimate physical visual representation of this perfectly achieved balance is the divine form of Ardhanarishvara. The sources emphasize this image heavily as the pinnacle of their theology.
Ardhanarishvara is a composite deity that is literally half Shiva, half Shakti. bisected right down the middle. The right half is male, smeared with ash, holding a trident. The left half is female, adorned with jewels, holding a lotus. They share one body.
Now, we have to look very carefully at how this image is interpreted today. Very often, modern, westernized interpretations look at Artanarishvara and reduce it to a symbol of gender equality. They say, look, it proves men and women are equal halves.
And the sources are very explicit about pushing back on that reduction. They note that while social inclusivity and gender equality are wonderful modern values, reducing Artanarishvara to just a progressive social commentary completely strips it of its massive spiritual depth.
Exactly. This symbol existed millennia before our modern social frameworks or gender theories. Artanarishvara doesn't just say male and female are equal partners. It is the visual language of absolute non-duality.
It is proving that awareness, the observer, and energy, the observed, are not two separate things that occasionally cooperate. They are a single, indivisible, lived reality. It's the radical declaration that there were never two forces to begin with.
The sail and the wind are the same phenomenon.
And this profound, mind-bending unity is what millions of people celebrate and try to internalize every single year during the massive festival of Mahashivaratri. Our deep dive wouldn't be complete without understanding the mechanics of how this ancient mythology is actively, physically applied by devotees today.
Mahashivaratri, which translates to the Great Night of Shiva, falls on the 14th night of the waning moon, usually in late February or early March. Astronomically, it is the darkest night of the lunar month.
And the sources detail the specific, rigorous practices of this night. It's crucial to understand that Shivaratri is not a typical festival. It is not a festival of feasting, dancing, and indulgence like Diwali or Holi. It is a festival of severe austerity.
The core practice is the Jagaran, a continuous night vigil where devotees refuse to sleep for the entire night.
We have to analyze the psychology of staying awake. Sleep is the ultimate biological surrender to unconsciousness.
By forcing the body to stay away during the darkest, quietest hours of the night, the devotee is physically enacting the role of Shiva. They are making a massive, conscious effort to keep the witness, the awareness active and alert, while the entire physical world around them and their own exhausted ego wants to shut down.
It is a battle against ignorance. And the worship isn't just sitting in a dark room. It is highly structured into 4 prohars, or 3-hour segments spanning from sunset to sunrise. It's an escalating psychological and physical journey.
In the first prohar, the early evening, the ego is still fully intact. The devotee offers simple, pure things. Water, 108 chants of the mantra, lotus flowers, and they recite the 8 primary names of Shiva. It's an introduction.
But as the night deepens, the body fatigues and the psychological walls begin to thin. By the second prohar, late evening, the offerings intensify. They offer sesame seeds, which symbolize the burning away of accumulated karmic debts.
They offer bilva leaves, a complex trifoliate leaf representing the balancing of the 3 gunas or qualities of nature. And they offer kheer, a sweet milk rice, to nourish the internal heat being generated by the vigil.
Then we hit the third prahar, around midnight. The texts refer to this as the Nishita Kal, the most spiritually charged mystical window of the night. The veil between the physical and the cosmic is thinnest.
Here they offer abak flowers, which are actually poisonous, signifying the surrender of toxic thoughts and deeply held fears to the deity who can consume poison. They offer rich malpua.
And finally, the grueling pre-dawn fourth prahar. The body is exhausted, the mind is stripped of its usual defenses. In this raw state, they offer lentils and 7 types of grains, symbolizing the totality of earthly sustenance, completely surrendering their physical survival to the divine.
They perform the concluding rituals as the sun rises, having successfully carried the torch of consciousness through the darkest night.
And while they are pushing their bodies through this 12-hour gauntlet, their minds are focused on the massive cosmic events linked to this specific night. It's not just the anniversary of the wedding. The sources mention other colossal myths that anchor the vigil.
There's the story of Lingodhava.
Right, the myth where Brahma and Vishnu are arguing over who is the supreme god. Suddenly, the universe splits open, and an infinite blazing pillar of fire, a massive, flaming lingam, appears between them. It has no top and no bottom.
They spend thousands of years flying up and digging down trying to find its source, and they fail. Shiva emerges from the pillar, proving that his consciousness has no beginning, no end, and cannot be measured by ego or intellect. That pillar of fire is said to have appeared on Shivaratri.
And there is his terrifying form, Shivarantika, The myth where three demon brothers build three flying, indestructible cities of gold, silver, and iron. They represent the three layers of human bondage: physical attachment, mental ego, and the illusion of the soul.
Shiva destroys all three massive cities simultaneously with a single, perfectly aimed arrow, fired precisely as the cities align for a fraction of a second. It represents the sudden, total destruction of all illusion by a single flash of pure awareness.
And of course, the night celebrates Nataraja. We talked about the crazed Tandava of grief earlier when Sati died. But as Nataraja, the Lord of Dance, his movement is no longer driven by despair. It is the perfectly calibrated, joyful rhythm of creation, preservation, and dissolution. His dancing feet keep the galaxy spinning.
There's even a beautiful story in the sources where, right before the wedding, Shiva appears in King Himavat's court disguised as Sunartakanata, a divine wandering dancer. He dances with such mesmerizing cosmic rhythm that the entire court is paralyzed with awe, foreshadowing the harmony he is about to bring to their daughter.
So we have all these ancient stories, we have elaborate, grueling rituals, we have a cosmic drama involving severed bodies, ascetic starvation, and horrifying wedding guests. But your job as an expert is to bring this entirely back to reality.
Bringing it directly back to you, the listener, sitting in your car or walking your dog right now. How does this bizarre, extreme Shiva Shakti logic apply to the architecture of your human mind today?
That is the ultimate question. Why does a myth about an ash-covered ascetic and a starving princess matter when you're stressed about your commute, your mortgage, or your relationships?
It matters because we currently live in a world defined by extremes. Think about your own life. We usually fall into one of two traps. The first is constant, exhausting, unreflective action.
We hustle, we scroll, we work, we react to every email, every news alert, every emotional trigger without pausing.
That is excessive Shakti without the grounding of Shiva. It is the wind tearing the ship apart, and the inevitable result of that state is burnout and anxiety.
Or we fall into the opposite trap. We get paralyzed by overthinking. We sit in our rooms, detached, constantly analyzing our trauma, introspecting, watching endless self-help videos, planning our lives perfectly in our heads, but never actually engaging with the messy, risky reality of the world.
That is Shiva without the activating force of Shakti. It is the sail hanging dead on the mast. The inevitable result of that state is depression and stagnation.
We overwork or we overthink. This ancient philosophy wrapped in these wild stories provides a deeply practical, urgently needed middle path. It argues that wholeness is only achieved through the deliberate integration of clear, silent reflection, the Shiva consciousness, and meaningful, directed, vibrant action, the Shakti energy.
The stories are telling us that you need the unshakable stillness of the mountain and the wild, relentless power of the river. One without the other is a disaster.
You need both the observer and the observed to experience reality. You need to be deeply awake to the world, centered and calm, but simultaneously actively, passionately participating in it.
Sati had to be reborn to willingly choose stillness. Shiva had to leave his cave to willingly embrace the noise of the world. It's brilliant.
It is an ancient, tested blueprint for psychological harmony. Which brings us to the end of our monumental journey today. And I want to leave you with a final, deeply mind-expanding thought drawn directly from the climax of the source dialogue.
After the grand, bizarre wedding, after the philosophical debates about destiny, Shiva makes a promise to Parvati.
He tells her that the profound knowledge of their union, the complex, intimate secrets of how awareness and energy intertwine to create reality, will not remain locked away on Mount Kailash. It will eventually be given as a gift to humanity.
It will be codified in a text called the Shiva Tantra, which is one of the most foundational, practical texts of non-dualistic meditation ever written.
And the ultimate realization of this text, the punchline to this entire cosmic joke, isn't just about worshiping a blue-throated deity sitting on a snowy mountain out there in the cosmos somewhere. The ultimate goal, the absolute pinnacle of all this mythology, the tapasya, the tandava, the pithas, is encapsulated in a single mantra. Shivam, I am Shiva, I am Shakti.
It completely collapses the external mythology into internal reality. The gods are not outside of you.
Exactly. I want you to consider this as you go about the rest of your day. The exact same cosmic balance that sustains the spinning galaxies. The delicate, fierce, eternal dance of absolute, unmoving stillness and wild, uncontainable creative energy, the very dance that survived the tragic death of Sati, the catastrophic wrath of Daksha, the world-ending chaos of Tarakasura, and that bizarre procession of ghosts.
That exact same dance is happening inside your own mind, your own consciousness at this very second.
You are the infinite stillness of the observer, and you are the wild energy of the lived experience. You just have to tune your instrument to hear it.
It is a profound, empowering realization of the self.
Thank you so much for joining us on this massive deep dive. It's been an incredible journey from the fiery altars of the ancient world all the way back into the center of your own mind. Remember to stay curious, keep questioning the boundaries of what you think you know, and keep exploring.